Hi, welcome to Diamond Delight Edibles. My name is Liz if this is the first time you're joining, and for the rest of you guys, welcome back. So today what I decided to do, because it's summertime, it's hot and humid and I don't have air conditioning, oh poor me. So candy making is going to be kind of on a hold for probably till September until it cools down. So I apologize. Heat and humidity, heat and humidity do not go well with candy making. So as I said, they're going to kind of be on hold, but I can do baking and more savory recipes, so we can look forward to those. So today I'm going to show you how to make this awesome Canna lemon bundt cake. And not too much to say about it. Now, actually, there is a little bit to say about it. What's really nice about this recipe is because we can use can of flour, can of butter, can of sugar, and can of powdered sugar. Now I do have the recipes for any of all of those things. If you don't have any, if you don't have all of them, not a big deal. You can just use, if you only have can of butter, you can just use the can of butter portion. If you do have flour, you can use that. If you have sugar, you can use that. So as long as you end up with a total amount, so for example, it's 3 cups of flour. So if you use 1 cup of can of flour and 2 cups of regular flour, that's great. If you don't have can of flour, use 3 cups of the regular flour, and you can use more of the can of butter. So as I said, you'll see all the different parts of the canna that you can use, and I do have the recipes for all of the base ingredients in the library there. All right, so I'm going to jump into the ingredients and what we need, and we'll get started. All right, so for our Canna lemon bundt cake, we are going to need 3 cups of flour in total. So however you want to split up your flour, if you've got can of flour, I did 1 cup of can of flour to 2 cups of regular flour. So as I said, you can vary that. That's what's really nice about this recipe, is you can vary. You only want to make it light, you can do a 1/4 cup of can of flour. If you don't have can of flour, just use your can of butter. We'll get to the butter point. So I digress. So let me go back. So 3 cups of flour, however you want to do it. As I said, I did 1 cup can of flour to 2 cups of regular flour. 1 cup of sugar. So again, I did 3/4 of a cup of regular sugar to a 1/4 cup of can of sugar. You're going to need 1 cup of butter in total. So again, I did 3/4 of a cup of unsalted butter, and then I've got a 1/4 cup of can of butter. You're going to need a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Now you can either squeeze real lemons. If you're going to do real lemons, you'll probably need about 4 altogether. Or you can use the lemon or the real lemon in the bottle is fine. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of whole milk, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, not soda, powder. We're going to need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So that is for our cake. Oh, sorry, and we're also going to need 3 eggs at room temperature. So you're going to want all of your ingredients at room temperature. Now for our glaze, you're going to need 1 cup of sugar and a 1/4 of a cup of lemon juice. And for our glaze, or for the icing, you're going to need 2 cups of icing sugar and 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I'm going to squeeze out that lemon juice from this lemon, because we're also going to need 2 tablespoons of lemon rind. Plus we're going to need the lemon rind from this one for the decoration. All right, I think I've covered all of the ingredients here. I hope I covered all of the ingredients here. All right, let me get into the equipment that we need. I'm sure if I forgot something, don't worry, I'll let you know. I'll get into the equipment and we'll get baking. All right, so for our equipment, you are going to need a bundt pan. And that's what it's got, the cone in the middle. It usually has a design in the bottom of it. We're going to need 2 bowls, a medium-sized bowl and a larger bowl. You're going to need a hand mixer or a stand mixer you can use. A lemon zester if you've got one, much handier if you've got one. If not, you can use a grater. You're going to need some nonstick spray. Even if you have a nonstick pan, you are going to use nonstick spray. And as I said, the hand mixer or the stand mixer is great. And a spatula. And that's it. So now we'll get everything put together. So as I said, I always tend to forget something. The whisk. I always forget the whisk. Anyhow, so you need a whisk. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our flour and we're going to pour it into our medium-sized bowl. And if you've got the can of flour and the flour, regular flour mixed together, just give that a quick little whisk around. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of our baking powder. And we're going to whisk those together. And then we're just going to set this aside for a little bit. And we're going to get all our wet ingredients put together. All right, so in our large bowl, we are going to first, all right, so for our cake, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to cream together our butter, our sugar, and our salt. And your butter, you want it softened to room temperature. I'll get that plunked in there. Get my Canna butter in there. It's a little melty. Oh well. And we're going to add in our cup of sugar in total. So as I said, 3/4 of a cup of the regular sugar and a 1/4 cup of the Canna sugar. And our teaspoon of salt. And we're going to cream that together with our mixer. Oh, helps if I plug it in. Electricity is an important element. So it's not dropping everything everywhere. That'd be good too. All right, so your mixture should look like this. Your butter and your sugar, it should be nice and fluffy, like so. And now you're going to add in 1 egg at a time and beat it in until it is fully incorporated and nice and fluffy again. 1, 2. And now egg number 3. And again, this is what your mixture should be looking like. And now we are going to add in our 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Oops. Make sure to take out any seeds if you used fresh lemons. Look at that. Oopsie. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of lemon zest. And our teaspoon of vanilla. And again, mix that in, get that all well beaten in, and then we're going to add in our milk and our flour. All right. Get rid of those. All right, so now we're going to add in half of our flour. And you just want to fold that in first, so that way when you start mixing it, it's not going to make a huge fluffy mess. And start off on low first, like I said, because otherwise your flour is going to go poof. It's going to be looking nice and fluffy. Now we're going to add in our milk. Scrape down your sides. And we're going to add in our milk. Again, when you start the beating, start on low, and then you can increase it. And once you're all mixed in, make sure to scrape down your sides again. Get off. And now we're going to add in the other half of our flour. And get that finished beating in until it's fully incorporated. Sides for one last time. And give it one final beating. Make sure all our flour and everything's incorporated. And this is what your bundt cake batter should be looking like. All right, so now you have preheated your oven to 350. We're going to get our bundt pan. So as I said, even though if you have a non-stick, you're still going to spray it regardless. So we're going to give it a nice even spray, get a paper towel, and just wipe out the excess. And now we are going to pour this in, and you're going to fill it to about just a little bit over halfway. And you want to make sure it's all even, of course, so that it bakes evenly. Now my bundt pan is a little bit smaller than the average, so depending on the size, you may have excess. I have a little mini bundt silicone pan I'm going to grab and use the rest of the batter on that. And then you want to clean off any excess that's up around the edges, because that will burn. You don't want that to happen. And also any excess off the middle cone piece. Great, I'm just putting more on. There we go, and then we are going to put this into the oven at 350 in the middle rack for 50 minutes, or until you could put in a skewer. You generally use these long skewer things, or a toothpick or a knife, and it comes out clean. So about 50 minutes. Or also when it's nice and golden brown, that's a good indication as well. I got this little mini silicone bundt pan from, I think Bulk Barn it was. I've been dying to use it, so I'm glad I have some excess here, so I could make some little ones. And that's it. I'm going to bake these all up, and then once we take it out of the oven, I'll show you what's next. All right, so while our cake is baking, we are going to make our glaze. So there's glaze and icing. There's a lemon glaze and there's a lemon icing. So we are going to use a half a cup of sugar. I do apologize. In the ingredients list, I said a cup of sugar. It's not. For the glaze, it is a half a cup of sugar and a quarter cup of lemon juice. So you're just going to put those two together in a bowl, and we're just going to mix those together. So you're going to stir this until your sugar and the lemon is combined. Then we're going to put this into the microwave for a total of 1 minute, 30 seconds at a time. So 30 seconds, take it out, mix it up, and then put it in for another 30 seconds, and continue doing that until it is completely dissolved. So if you need additional time for heating up and for it to dissolve, just then do it for about 15 seconds at a time after that. All right, so this will be very hot. We're going to set that aside because we want it nice and cool for when our cake is ready. So you want to start making this right after you put your cake in the oven. And so just make sure that your sugar is all dissolved. Now we're going to make our icing. So we are going to add 2 cups, and we're going to sift this. Let me just find my thingamajigger, my whoopee. Oh, here it is. Here it is, my strainer. If you have a sifter, good for you. If not, strainers work just great. So you're just going to put your icing sugar into your strainer and sift that through gently. And the reason that we do this is to get all, because you'll see there's all these little lumps and chunks and stuff. You don't want that in it. You want to have a nice smooth icing. So that's why we sift it. And then any of the lumps, so you're just going to mush them through. Just work them through the strainer. And that's it. Now we are going to add 3 tablespoons of lemon to this. Add this little nifty lemon thingamajigger. Oh, just half this puppy. Anyway, so again, I'll just pull out the seeds. Oops. So that was about 1.5 tablespoons. There we go. Then you're just going to mix that together until everything becomes combined and it's nice and smooth. Now, if it gets really stiff, really thick, you just need to add in some more lemon juice, or if you run out of lemon juice like I kind of have, you can just add in a couple of teaspoons of milk. Actually, no, sorry, normally you do it with milk, but because we have lemon in it, that may curdle the milk, so we're just going to do a couple teaspoons of water. Seriously, why can I never find anything? So I'm just going to add in a little bit of water at a time until I get to my desired texture. And you really just want to add a tiny bit of water at a time because it does spread through really easily. So you may think it's not very much, and then all of a sudden it gets really, really loose. And if it does, you can just always add a little bit more icing sugar. So I'm going to get that just a little bit thinner. And that's a nice texture. So just about like this. So it flows off your spoon like that. And it looks nice and shiny. Something like that. And just continue to mix until it's completely smooth. And just cover that up, and we'll keep that set to the side until our cake is finished baking actually. We don't cook cake, we bake cake. And your glaze, as it cools, will thicken up. And so then you just want to make sure to cover up your icing with some saran wrap until we need it. So to check your cake to see if it is done all the way through, is you put your stick through, and if it comes out clean, if it comes out with cake pieces on it or anything, any kind of batter, then it's not done. So this looks nice and clean. So we're good to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave this in the pan for 10 minutes, and then we're going to flip it out onto a rack to cool. All right, so after about 10 minutes, we're going to move this over to our cooling rack for it to completely cool. So you just want to get a flat edge knife and just loosen the edges. Now, there's one change that I would definitely make with this cake. I tried one of the little Bundt ones that I did. And the 2 teaspoons of baking powder, I would switch that to 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. With this recipe, it is a little bit dry, a little bit dense. So I think that's the problem with that recipe, is it's missing the baking soda. So that would be the one change that I would make to that, and I'm going to make that change in the list of ingredients. So we're going to loosen that up, and from the middle as well. And then we are going to take our rack, make sure your nubs are upside down here, and you're going to take your cake. If the pan is hot, grab a mitt, and we're going to flip this upside down. And voila! Look at that. So I'm going to let this completely cool, and then we are going to glaze and ice it. All right, so once our cake is cooled, we are first going to apply our lemon glaze, the clear one. So you're going to take a long pokey thing, and you're going to make a whole bunch of holes and go deep into the cake all the way around. And then you're going to take your glaze and you're going to go all over the top. You want to try and get a nice even coat. And we're going to let that sit for 10 minutes, and then we're going to apply our icing. And let it dribble down the well. Probably should have put a pan under there. Yeah, that might have been better. Oh, I'm going to clean up that little mess, put a pan under it, and we'll apply the icing. I said we're going to let that sit for about 10 minutes, and we'll apply our icing. Now we're going to get ready to apply our icing. So we've got our icing here, so just give it a stir, make sure it hasn't stiffened up on you. And if you have to, you may need to add a couple more drops. If it did stiffen up, add a couple more drops of lemon juice or water. And then you're just going to take your glaze, or your icing, and just haphazard. Just want to apply it evenly and just let it drip. I put some wax paper down to catch the drips. And that's it. Now this is a nice easy cake because you don't have to have any kind of decorating skills. It just does its thing nicely. And if you want, you can save some of the white and add some yellow food coloring to it, and then just make some yellow drizzles on it if you like, for some just additional decoration. So I'm going to do that as well. I'm mixing some yellow there. I'm just going to do some light drizzles of yellow. Kind of a back and forth. Like I said, you do not have to be a fancy cake decorator and make these look pretty. And then the last thing we're going to do is to add some lemon zest to the top of our cake. And there, that's that. So now you get your lemon zester or your grater, and we're just going to add some lemon zest to the top of our cake. And that's it. You now have a Canna lemon bundt cake. But as I said, definitely you may want to make that change because this is more of a dense cake. I've never really had bundt cake too often, so I'm not really sure how they're supposed to be. If they are supposed to be dense, then stick with the 2 teaspoons of baking powder. However, if they're supposed to be fluffier, then go with the 1 and 1. Make that option up to you. Give it a try one way. If you don't like it, you can make the change. And that's everything. So I'm going to come back to say goodbye and show you the rest of the cake there. And there you have it. Your Canna lemon bundt cake. I hope you enjoyed the recipe and the tutorial. As always, if you have any questions or any comments at all, please don't hesitate to ask. I do try to get back to them. I know I do have delays sometimes. I'm really busy, so I do apologize for that, but I do get through them every few days. So as I said, if you like this recipe, please check out my other ones. And if you are new to the channel, I do hope you subscribe. And that's all I've got for you today. So you have an awesome rest of your day, and I hope you enjoy.